Hey guys, sorry I'm a little bit late starting this. Today I just wanted to talk about the thyroid and nutrition. So this is the first in a series of videos that I'll do on a Thursday around this time, talking about what the relationship is between thyroid health and nutrition, because I'm seeing an increasing number of people with all sorts of thyroid conditions in the clinic. And definitely thyroid conditions is something that nutritional medicine and diet can help with a great deal. So if you have a look at the post I put up yesterday, that was a classic example of somebody seeing immediate improvements in their symptoms following some nutritional intervention. Okay, so today what I wanted to do was just cover some real basics, and I just want to talk about the main hormones that are involved in the main hormones that are associated with the thyroid and how they actually relate to nutrition, so that we can just get some basics down pat first of all. All I'm going to talk about this morning is TSH, so thyroid stimulating hormone, T4 and T3, and I'm going to explain what these things do, basically, and how nutrients are related to them. At the end of the video, all I want you to get from today's post is, wow, I did not realize the fact that literally our thyroid is totally dependent on some key nutrients. So the first thing to talk about is TSH. So TSH is short for thyroid stimulating hormone, and basically the function of TSH is to literally just talk to the thyroid, so stimulate the thyroid and promote the production of our main thyroid hormones, which are T4 and T3. So TSH is what people will be tested for in a routine blood test, and what we're looking for is whether the levels are too high. If the TSH levels are rising, then we know that the brain is saying over and over to the thyroid, hey, hurry up, we need more thyroid hormone, and it's not really responding, and therefore the levels are getting higher and higher. And then sometimes those levels can go the other way, and we see TSH really low, possibly because the thyroid is overactive and it's producing too much thyroid hormone. So TSH is kind of just a messenger. So if we move on and we talk about T4 and T3, they're basically the main players of the thyroid. And the thing to remember about the thyroid is that it literally impacts every single cell in the body. It controls the metabolism of every cell, so it can have so many different consequences if it's not operating properly. T4, what I want to say about T4 is actually, it's sort of like, it doesn't do too much. It's sort of like a storage version of our thyroid hormone, because it's not active until it becomes T3. But the ironic situation, I think it's rather ironic, is that T4 has its name because it's literally a tyrosine molecule, which is an amino acid, attached to 4 iodine molecules. So the most important thing to take away from this live is that your thyroid hormones are literally made up of nutrients. And yet we don't really think about nutrition often enough in thyroid conditions. I think that's a little bit ironic, and I find it really frustrating when the thyroid hormones are literally made from nutrients, and yet nutrition is usually the last thing that gets flagged as a consideration. So just to spell that out, tyrosine is an amino acid. So if you're not getting enough protein, which is probably going to be more of an issue for vegetarians and vegans, if you're eating meat, it's unlikely that's going to be a problem, then there's your first issue. If you're not getting enough protein, you may not be getting enough tyrosine, so there's one of the raw ingredients that you might be lacking to actually help in the production of adequate thyroid hormones. Iodine is a bit of an interesting molecule. The concept of iodine deficiency in the Australian diet isn't new. It's kind of been debated for quite a long time. We do have areas of Australia where we know that iodine deficiency is significantly bad. And what happens in some of these areas is we see an increased number of people walking around with goiters in their throats because there's not enough iodine available, so the thyroid starts to enlarge because it's working harder. So over the last sort of 10 years or so, the government's tried to do something about this, and what they've done is they've fortified a lot of common foods with iodine. So you'll see things like iodized table salt, iodine added to bread, all that sort of thing in an effort to try to combat the fact that we aren't getting as much iodine through our soil anymore just because it's more deficient in minerals. So just to recap, that T4 molecule needs a tyrosine attached to 4 iodine molecules. And if there's iodine deficiency involved, then obviously that's going to be quite difficult for the body to find those raw materials in order to make that particular molecule. What happens with T4 is, like I said, it's kind of just a storage molecule. It doesn't do too much. It then becomes T3, and that reaction in the body is fairly complex, and it's dependent on a couple of different nutrients as well. So the reaction that has to occur in order for T4 to become activated needs selenium. Like it is a selenium dependent reaction. And selenium is another mineral, again, probably not getting as much as we used to. We're probably not getting a lot as much nutrients as we used to in general, because obviously our soil is getting more and more recycled and whatnot. But again, if there's not enough selenium in the diet, if somebody's eating a lot of junk food, they're not eating a lot of fresh food, one of the richest sources of selenium is actually Brazil nuts in the diet, then again, you could run into a bit of a hiccup there in the conversion of T4 to T3. And that's a big problem, because T3 is basically the thyroid hormone that runs around the body and does most of the work. The other important mineral that is needed in this little conversion of T4 to T3 is zinc. Again, probably zinc deficiency issues are more a problem on perhaps a vegetarian or vegan diet, especially if seafood is not in the diet. So good sources of zinc, animal protein, seafood, oysters is an awesome source of zinc as well. The other thing as well that is really important, and this is why I get I'm really passionate and I'm often sharing stuff about iron deficiency on this page, because iron deficiency happens a lot in women. And the thing is, like I always say, if iron deficiency is not addressed and dealt with, it will have more serious consequences. And the reaction of T4 to T3 is a classic example, because iron levels need to be good in order for that to happen in a basically easy manner. So what I've seen before in the clinic is, especially in young women, they've walked around for a number of years with an iron deficiency because they've tried to take an iron tablet and it's made them constipated and uncomfortable and that sort of thing. So they've just decided, well, I guess I'll just live with being tired. And what happens is that the thyroid starts to get really, really stressed because there's not enough iron in order for that whole reaction to take place easily. And then that iron deficiency also becomes an underactive thyroid issue, 2 or 3 years later. What I wanted to say about they're the three main players. So we've got TSH, T4 and T3. So just to sum up, those hormones in particular, the T4 and T3, are literally made up of nutrients, and the reaction that takes place in order for T4 to become T3 again is completely and totally dependent on nutrients. So honestly, I really think that nutrition needs to be an integral part of, or an integral modality in the treatment of any thyroid condition, because we can add a great deal of support if we make sure that the diet is correct and we correct any nutritional deficiencies along the way. A couple of things. So high stress is going to increase your need for some of these key nutrients. So for example, people who are really stressed out and maybe have a lot of anxiety as well are going to be churning through nutrients like zinc in particular, because zinc is required for all of our brain chemistry and all of our mental health as well. So if you think about a diet and then you throw in a whole lot of stress, this is where things like supplementation can be really important, because you're churning through some of those key nutrients perhaps a lot faster than somebody who's not stressed and, you know, living a relatively cruisy life, I suppose. Autoimmunity, so autoimmune thyroid conditions, that adds a whole new dimension of complexity, which I'll cover in a later video. That's more related to there being some inflammation and perhaps some more of a reaction to maybe some of the foods that are going into the body. So that's different again. All I wanted to cover today was just those basic components of the thyroid and the associated hormones, and bring it back to the fact that they are 100% completely dependent on key nutrients. So this is why the diet is really important to consider in any thyroid condition. Just to finish off, I just wanted to say thanks for tuning in, but also please never take any supplements for your thyroid unless you've consulted with a professional, because if you already have a known thyroid condition, thyroids can be quite unstable. If you over supplement, you can swing it the other way. So people who have underactive thyroids can all of a sudden have a hyperactive thyroid if things aren't dosed correctly and whatnot. So for now, if you're watching this and you do have a thyroid condition and you're wondering how you can improve your diet, start thinking about some of those key nutrients. Even just little things. Am I getting enough protein? Maybe I could throw some nuts and seeds into the diet to cover off my selenium. Maybe I should be eating a little bit more seafood. Perhaps you could start looking at, am I getting any iodine? Where is that coming from? Is there a possibility that that might be an issue for me? Apart from that, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learnt something. When I see people with thyroid conditions, I often do this up as a little diagram so they actually understand, oh, okay, like I get it now. I can see why I need to start thinking about what's going in my body to nourish my thyroid, to reduce the stress that it's under, to give it the ingredients that it needs, basically, to keep my body nice and healthy. So I hope you have a good day. I'm sorry Karma couldn't hang out with us today. I had to leave early, so he's probably tearing up the house or something. And last time he wasn't very polite anyway. I saw what he was doing in the background. And if you guys need any help or individual help, please just send me a direct message and book in for an appointment. And I'll catch up with you on Monday for another short video on metabolism.